Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gita Marie and I thought today I wanted to get ready while I talk about some things that I as an environmentalist do not care about. Often when you say you care about climate, also who doesn't, insane. So often when you call yourself an environmentalist or you say that you care about climate, you're often placed inside this box with all these assumptions about who you are. And apparently I like to surprise people, and there is plenty of room in this box for different types of opinions, different types of people. We do not all look the same and think the same. I want to talk about some of the things that I am often assumed to care about that I don't. With little to no context. That's untrue. We're gonna provide a little bit of context, but I'm also filming a shorter version of this for Instagram with no context. So let's see what happens there. Anyway, let's get started. And for this video, I'll also try to see if I can talk a little bit about the products that I'm using, because otherwise that part of the video is not gonna be very helpful. So we're gonna try to do that. I start by using this Go Circular oil on my face. Absolutely gorgeous. While I rub this into my face, I can start by stating that I do not care if other people think that my clothes is out of style. I don't think there is such a thing as out of style. There's personal style and there's wearing the things that you love to wear, but I think placing this pressure on both yourself as well as other people to always be on trend, to always be in style, is silly and obnoxious and insane, and it comes directly from the fast fashion industry, because when we feel bad about ourselves, we want to renew ourselves, and how do we do that? We buy more shit than we need. So the whole idea of something being in and out of style, I think, is nauseating, honestly. I don't care if I wear something that isn't necessarily popular. Actually, I don't give a rat's ass about that. I've had these small Elate containers for a while. I don't have Elate product in it now, but I like to keep them. I clean them out and then I just place the small bits, like the tiny leftovers of some of my cosmetics. So this is a tiny bit of an old concealer. And while we apply the concealer, I can say that I do not care if a brand plants a tree with every purchase. It is still overconsumption if you buy something you don't need. And also the whole industry of carbon offsetting, a carbon or climate compensation, and planting trees with every purchase is, if not in the neighborhood of greenwashing, just living on the street. Actually in major villa right in the middle. Because the thing is, it requires tremendous amounts of resources. It's expensive to maintain a forest for decades in order for those trees to have any actual impact. You will have to pay people to take care of those trees for decades. And do you think that our 2-3 quid compensation is going to make that impact? Do you think the brands invest decades worth of resources into that? They don't. They don't. Also, a lot of these tree planting schemes are planting trees that are not native to the areas they're planting them in. And the whole industry functions a lot like very opaque, untransparent real estate. It is a whole complex system. It has zero transparency and there is very little regulation with it. So I would take it with a massive grain of salt if anyone tries to convince you that they're definitely planting 1 million trees. It can be true, but it isn't necessarily, and I am always extremely skeptic whenever I hear anyone say anything like that. I also have a whole impact video about tree planting and about carbon offsetting, so I'll leave that down below in the comments so you can go and watch that too. I don't actually remember where I got this powder from. This powder is from Corinto, and while it is plastic free, it is also the bane of my existence, because it is a loose mineral based powder and it comes, oh my goodness, it's just this. I'm just hanging on for dear life here. I don't care if you could never give up cheese. That is a cop-out for not reducing animal products. So the thing is, from an ethical perspective, I would love to only talk in ultimatums. I would love to say that, well, every single part of industrialized animal agriculture is wrong. Every single part of any animal agriculture is wrong. However, I really do not resonate very well with that kind of communication strategy. And I also know a lot of other people do not respond very well to that. It is some people's communication strategy. You go off, you do you. But I personally like to talk to a wider majority reduction overall. So I always say, like, you know, I've been a vegan for 7 years. or plant-based or whatever you would like to say, because I don't actively work towards abolishing every single type of animal agriculture. Maybe you don't think I'm vegan. I don't, honestly, also, I don't care about that. But I always say that, well, you might not think that you can give up cheese, but there are so many other animal products that you can then phase out or stop eating, and then keep the ones for now that you're really passionate about, that you really like. This kind of black and white thinking I don't think is doing anyone any favors. So often when I say that I'm vegan, and I know for a fact that a lot of people have experienced this, the first reaction I get, and I actually got it just last week, was, oh, I could never give up cheese. It's like, also, no one asked you to. I am literally talking about my own lunch here. No one asked you to give up meat or dairy or whatever. But even if you have that sort of feeling that you could never give up cheese, then give up all the other stuff. Then look at all the things that you actually don't really care about and phase those out in favor of plant-based products. And when you start phasing something out, you're sort of forced to reflect upon what you're buying, and then it becomes a lot easier to experiment with things. But if we say there's something we can't do, it is absolutely certain that we can't do it. But if we're open-minded and we try to not hold something to such a high standard or put certain products on this pedestal, like, I could never give that up. Yeah, well, no shit, now it's gonna be really difficult to even start to think about reducing the consumption of this stuff. So yeah, I don't care if you can't give up cheese. There's so many other things that you can still reduce. And I think the prognosis is that we have to reduce animal agriculture, like the industrialized sector, with 70% to reach our climate goals. If you can reduce by 70%, that is also extremely badass, because I don't really think that you have to be a vegan to be an environmentalist, but I do think that you have to reflect upon your consumption of animal products if you care about the planet, because it is one of the leading causes of climate change. Okay, does that make sense? Moving on. I've been a little back and forth with what I do with my eyebrows. I've been using colored gel for a while, but now I'm back to using this. I love the fact that it's just in a little glass container. I don't know the brand because it's very anonymous. Probably too old anyway, but I don't care. I can say that I don't care if I do not fit the idea of what an environmentalist looks like for you. It is very low-hanging fruit whenever you hear something that you don't like to hear, to call out people for the way that they look, or trying to discredit them for what they look like, or like what they wear, or their overall demeanor, or the way that they live, etc. I have heard some wild whataboutisms whenever I talk about, especially so overconsumption. Everything from, well, I have art hanging on my walls, to, well, you wear makeup. I will probably get that in this video as well. I got that in the last things I don't care about while I got ready. I posted that on Instagram a couple months ago. Got a lot of questions about, well, how can you call yourself sustainable if you wear makeup? Makeup is unnecessary, like it's not something vital for your survival, but a lot of stuff is not vital for our survival. We sort of need to thrive and be happy and not just barely survive, which means that every single person in a situation to do more than survive will do more than just survive. We will create art and music, and we will style our clothes, and we will in some way alter our appearance in a way where we can practice self-expression. Like, all these things are just as important. And if our idea of sustainability means that we have to take those things away from ourselves and preach that other people take those things away from themselves, then we're probably not going to get very far. I like to do my makeup whenever I so choose. It makes me feel good, it makes me feel happy, and honestly there's also an aspect of, well, I just get taken more seriously if I show up with a little bit of makeup on my face whenever I give lectures, workshops, speak in parliament, stuff like that. That is just also a fact of life. And I would never make myself feel bad for trying to make my life easier in that regard, and I would never shame anyone else for trying to make their lives easier in that regard. So there is that. I don't care if I don't look like the environmentalist in your head. I also sometimes have long nails, sometimes with color on them as well, but a lot less frequently now after the impact video about nail polish, let's be honest. I also have tattoos and in many ways look a little bit like a maximalist. I love it here. We are moving in with a Sao bronzer. I just nicked it with my nails, so that's great. Especially during the winter time. We need this. Okay. So I don't care if I'm the only person in my circle that practices any kind of sustainable habits. That's not going to change what I do. So I do understand that a lot of people can get really discouraged if they are trying to adapt certain values and beliefs and trying to be more sustainable, reducing their impact, and no one around them is supporting it or doing it. That is extremely hard. It is extremely frustrating. When I started my zero waste journey, no one around me knew what it was. No one around me did the same thing or like followed up and like participated in it, and I just kept going at it. And over time, I didn't ask anyone else to change for me. I didn't tell anyone else what to do, but over time, the more they saw me repeating these habits, the more they started to adapt certain habits themselves, or like started to reflect upon certain habits. I have never cared if I'm the only one that does this. Like overall, like worldwide, I would prefer to not be the only one that cares about the planet. I am also definitely not. And the thing you can sort of console yourself with is the fact that even though it feels like in your inner circle you're the only one that cares, you are not the only one that cares. You're never the only one that cares. This is incredibly dignified. Anyway, I would also like to say that I don't care if you personally aren't impacted or inconvenienced by climate change. It still exists even though you don't see it, or even if you don't feel the effects of it. It still definitely exists. It's wild that there are people that still live in this state of denial. Wake up, honestly. Talking about putting people in boxes, but I am absolutely 100% certain that I know everything about you based on that belief alone. I'm sorry, but... And also, I don't care if you don't care about climate change. I think there is something profoundly gross about people that, for some reason, performative or other, do not care about climate change and wants to express that they don't care about climate change, when people are actually losing their homes, losing their livelihoods, and, you know, their lives. And to sit there like an absolute edgelord saying that, well, you don't care about climate change. Well, congratulations. Okay. Really, I don't really see the point of expressing that if you don't care about it. So usually I just like to add a little lip balm. This is the one from Wild. It is the refillable one. So I have shown you these lipsticks for a while. They're from Beauty Made Easy. The line is Le Papier. And this is this gorgeous magenta color. Okay, look at me being a real beauty influencer. What is that? Gorgeous magenta color. I like to put that like in the center of my lips and then add a glossy lip gloss on top. I think it looks immaculate. Maybe you don't like this at all. Maybe it's not your cup of tea, but it is my cup of tea and I love it. And lastly, I would like to say I don't care if Taylor Swift is flying around the globe in her private jet. It is not an excuse for regular consumers to not take action. That is half a truth. So I care about private jets immensely. I care about private jets and the actions of billionaires immensely. And I think one of the best ways where we can actually combat a lot of this impact is through taxation and through regulation and holding these people accountable for their impact. Because yeah, I don't think that one person should be able to emit as much CO2 as one person would in 800 years. I don't think that that works. It is not an excuse for regular people to not care, is what I'm saying. So in that regard, I don't care that private jets are flying across the globe every single day. You still have something that you can do. You still have an impact and a power, and to just waste it because other people aren't doing their work. What? Absolutely not. It's when we come together and demand better structures that we can start to repair a lot of these systems. That claw clip, that claw clip, yeah, has me in an actual chokehold. Just gonna put in the clip-ons, just going for a little small gold number here. Perfect, the day can start. Anyway, those were things I don't care about as an environmentalist. I would love to hear you guys' take on this kind of format. Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you don't care about as an environmentalist that you perhaps often assume to care about. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you guys next time. Take really good care of yourselves. Until then, bye.